for video, you're going to want to be on YouTube. And I will beat this horse into the ground and through all 9 layers of hell. I will beat this horse. You should put your podcast on YouTube. You should.
Yep.
It's where everybody watches video. Going back to 2007, when people were like, where do you watch video on the internet? It was YouTube. Fast forward to 2017. Where do you watch video on the web? YouTube. And then if you fast forward then to 2027, I'm pretty confident people are going to say, well, where do you watch video on the web? It's YouTube. So put your podcast on YouTube, and there's more benefits to that we'll touch on as we continue to walk through this process, but that's where you want to put your video.
Question for you.
Yes.
'Cause I hear this all the time,
yes.
And I want you to break this down so people can understand. Using our same thing about audio, we want to be on every audio platform. Can you explain why someone wouldn't want to go put it on YouTube and put it on Rumble and put it on Kick and put it on whatever else is out there?
Yeah, there's a few reasons. The first one that I would think of is logistically, how annoying is that?
Very.
There is no platform right now that you can upload one video to and then that video gets put on all the platforms. On the audio side, that exists in a Megaphone or a Buzzsprout or any, Libsyn or Blueberry or whatever. I don't even know. There's so many of them. That exists on the audio side. On the video side, that's not a thing.
Yep.
So I wouldn't recommend trying to go and do that because that's a nightmare week over week. The other reason is because YouTube is going to allow you the opportunity to monetize, which again, we'll get to that. And even in the video portion of this, before we get to the monetization, we'll get into this a little bit more. But the creator program on YouTube is the best out. Spotify has been trying to tell everybody that theirs is going to be better. And then when they came out with and showed the numbers, it actually wasn't better. It's worse. So that's, I think, the best bang for your buck when it comes to monetization there through their dynamic ad placements, because they're going to handle all that in the background for you. And then the last reason is because YouTube is Google. YouTube is part of Google. So everything that goes onto YouTube is then indexed into Google search, which then is going to help with your brand's SEO. So now when somebody goes and searches creative control, we can, if we did no SEO work whatsoever, we would still show up if you go search creative control on Google, because we've put in all of the titles and the descriptions and the transcriptions and all the clips, and all the bios and all that type of stuff over on YouTube. So I would say those are probably my 3 off-the-cuff reasons of why YouTube's going to be your best bet when it comes to video on podcast. Excuse me. Having a tough time over here today. The last part of this branding roadblock is the name. And I left this to last on purpose because I think that the name is something that people will have in their notes for years. Creative control was in my notes for years. Or they'll wrestle with it and not think that it's as good as it could be, or feel like they have to come up with the perfect one on day one. And I think what the name of a podcast really comes down to is it's not that big a deal what it is. There's some dumb show names out there, and I'm not going to call any out. There's some show names out there of some very prominent podcasts that have nothing to do with what the podcast is. It just isn't that important. I think it's more so you want to create a name that is catchy, is memorable, is unique. That's really it. It really doesn't matter at all. And I also think when you're coming up with a name, building the show concept first, which is how we recommend you do it, actually informs your process of coming up with the final name. And so let's move forward to kind of like production.
Yep.
And we can get into, first of all, pre-production, the general direction of the show. First of all, how long is your show? What's your runtime? What's your duration? What's your show length? How long are you gonna yap for? Is this a quick 5-minute to 10-minute show that is like really, really bite-sized? Cool. Awesome. Is this a 15 to 20 minute show? Is this something that's a little bit longer? Now we're getting into drive time and, folding laundry or doing dishes, which is great. I love that runtime right now. Anywhere like, honestly, 20 to 30 right now is kind of my favorite as we run past the 30-minute mark in a second. 20 to 30, I think, is my favorite right now for a new show because it's a very attainable duration to fill. It's hard to fill time. It really is. And I think if you are not somebody who has experience doing like speaking on a microphone or into a camera, you really might want to consider aiming for shorter. And then if you run over, great. That's awesome. I think then once you get up towards like 40 to 60 and then beyond that is like now you're expert level podcasting. Your stuff better be good.
Yep.
Because maintaining viewership and listenership over that amount of time is even more challenging than just filling that amount of time. So if you can talk for that long, great. But is it good is what it really comes down to. So figure out that show length based on all that info. And be really honest with yourself about what you think you can actually do. And understand that if you allot 20 minutes for yourself and you go 45, great. That's cool. But don't allot 45 and only go 20 and be like, shit, now what? Let's define the objective of your show. What is the purpose behind your podcast? What can your audience expect to take away from each week's episode? So for Creative Control, you're going to get either deep dives on industry topics like this, where we're kind of educational and we're giving you the information from our experience and what we've seen best practices are, or you're going to get conversations with other creators, people in creative spaces who are bringing their perspectives to the table to discuss industry topics, to tell stories about industry experience, etc. Those are things that you can always get here from Creative Control week over week. And then you get to topics. What are we going to cover? Or how we term them, pillars. I like to build shows on 3 to 4 pillars of content. And these pillars help you define the foundation of your podcast, and they can also act over time as a compass for you as things arise. So if you need to decide like, a topic hits your desk and you're like, does this fit for the show? All you have to do is refer back to your pillars that we'll get into how to kind of define those right now. Go back to your pillars and bounce it up against those. Does this fit under one of these umbrellas? So I think the best way to understand this is through an example. And we'll use the biggest show on earth as the example because I think most people will be most familiar with it. The Joe Rogan Experience. Heard of it? Joe's show has always had a foundation of comedy. He's a comedian, so he knows comedy well. And he speaks with comedians because he has a lot of comedy friends. So comedy is pillar 1. These aren't necessarily in any order. Martial arts. He loves martial arts. He's been a martial artist himself for decades. He is one of the main commentators for the UFC. He is friends and connected with a lot of martial artists themselves and people in and surrounding that space. So martial arts is something that is a big pillar for him as well. The third one, fitness/nutrition. He's obsessed with fitness. He's obsessed with nutrition. These are things that he's interested in, that he practices himself. He's, again, connected with a lot of people in or around those industries, and so he's able to bring a lot of them in, and he genuinely enjoys those conversations with people from fitness and nutrition backgrounds.
Yep.
The last one, and you could stop there, by the way. That's a great show. All 3 of those, I think, is fantastic. There's audience members out there that are going to resonate with all 3 of those. Perfect. I would throw Joe a 4th pillar, and I don't always recommend having a 4th pillar, but Joe works because those first 3 are so strong and so defined that I think he can throw a 4th one on there, and he has. And those are really just his random curiosities. He didn't I don't think he came in with like this in mind. I think this was something that naturally just took place. He has gotten he's gotten into over the years politics. He's gotten into aliens. He's gotten into the tech space. He's gotten into hunting and outdoors. These are just his kind of random curiosities that he likes to poke around at. These are fun conversations for him. The politics thing, I think, was kind of like he was thrust into a position where he kind of had to have those conversations. Mm-hmm. That said, I think those random curiosities are something that if you feel very convicted about your first 3 pillars, define your show well, then yeah, you can kind of leave some room to to have some other topics, that aren't necessarily set in stone, I guess you could say.
Oh, you like that clip? Good news, it's part of a longer conversation. Go ahead and click here. You check the whole thing out. Go ahead.